Hello everyone. I do apologize for not being able to make the trip to Bergen and meet you folks personally. Next time. In the proceedings, the paper is mainly theoretical, but here the argument is summarized while, for the sake of clarity, I will illustrate it with some empirical evidence. I start from these catchwords. Consider facts versus consider desires. And I argue they have diverse epistemological statuses, which are related to these questions. How good a theory can be, how true values can be. These questions are nonsense. I start with modals to understand architecture and act on it. The idea is old indeed, for Vitruvius already suggests architecture should be considered through a three-function model: firmitas, stability; commoditas, comfort; venustas, beauty. Biohelier and Adrian Lehman, in one of those classic essays of the 1970s, suggest a four-function model. Architecture should be considered through four dimensions of performance as modifiers of pre-existing reality: behavior, climate, results, symbolic modifiers. I suggest we profit from considering an eight-function model. In our research group, different colleagues dedicate themselves to investigate different dimensions, my one being predominantly what I call, since a paper from 2010, sociological aspects of architectural performance. I have also been dealing with Pierre Bourdieu's concept of capital. In our lives, we mobilize, materialize, enact assets, means, resources, powers, capitals, which constitute the overarching concept of habitus as principles and modes of having, acting, thinking, and feeling, which position subjects in social space. However, I reorganize and complement Bourdieu's capitals along three macro-social structures, as in here. You will recognize in social capital Bill and Julien's systems of encounters and avoidances, as Daniel Koch has emphasized more recently. But in what concerns us, there is a howling silence here. I suggest the missing elements are spatial capital and building capital, which constitute, in turn, architectural capital. Now let's consider the first two terms of the title of this paper, the true and the good. This chart summarizes the ideas. In the upper part, truth relates to science, the world as is, to architectural reality, here described according to our eight-function model of performance. Let's recall, as Bill has always emphasized, that the aim of science is the description of phenomena. These are the precedents that inform the understanding of architecture and its implications toward people. In the lower part, values guide our choices toward the world as should be, the field of ethics. They involve our desires related to our values, which configure our projects. Concerning spatial capital, there are two instances. Firstly, the space of flows, referring to the whole, the systemic, the global, in space syntax jargon. To illustrate, consider the manifest image of the municipality of Brasilia and one of its corresponding scientific images. In this case, the RN integration axial map, which reveals the hidden structure of the place. In this scale, people are described as vehicular flows which, as much evidence reveals across the globe, correlate with the most integrated axis in warm colors. There are as many scientific images as theories which deal with the same phenomenon. Scientific images are theory-dependent. In the reasoning here, spatial capital is an attribute of the subject, not of the place, i.e., it refers to the way the spatial system is appropriated by diverse social classes, thus qualifying their respective mode of life. Secondly, spatial capital refers to the open fixities, the parts, the local, portions of clearly identifiable bits of public open spaces as places, appropriated by stationary people, or not that much. For example, the Esplanade of Ministries in Brasilia. As is described by science, it is a morphic peninsula hanging from the rest of the city and semantically characterized as a place for social, political, ideological superstructure, i.e., social reproduction, the center of the state vis-à-vis the center of civil society. Concerning use, it is occupied sparsely in daily life only by the civil servants who work here. But, as is historically typical, places with such a symbolic importance assemble large numbers of people in special occasions. The funeral of an ex-president, Juscelino Kubitschek, a campaign for democracy, an electoral campaign, a movement for the impeachment of a president, social movements that swept the country in 2013. Yes, I have been present in all of them. Now, which desires do we have toward this place? What transformations, if any, should be implemented here? The answer is suggested by Michel de Certeau's Ordinary People, who reinvent the city daily and who act today in the fringes of the place, by establishing informal commerce and services during weekdays. By the way, they are recurrently and violently repressed by the local government. In a possible future, new facilities might favor a happy hour in late afternoon and in the evenings, having as a backcloth this amazing scenery. The properly nicknamed Death Axis is the express road that cuts across the city from north to south. Cars at 80 km an hour, no traffic lights, 74 accidents per year, and 6 deaths per year in average. At least, on Sundays and holidays, it is like this. But more is needed. If the car city paradigm is to be overcome, the future might look like this. The third case are the row of superblocks, the typical housing fabric conceived by Lúcio Costa, which extends all along the residential wings of the pilot plan, which looks like this in a bird's eye view, and which are intensely used by all age groups, from infants through adolescents, youngsters, adults, old age, again here, but inhabited predominantly by upper classes. Speculated on the place as should be, I'm not talking about knocking down existing superblocks. Rather, I'm talking about how future boroughs should be different, and I offer 2 examples to illustrate this. And for this, we now shift to building capital. Vila Planalto is a neighborhood located 1,500 meters from the square of the 3 powers, with a great variety of plots, buildings, streets, blocks, as these images illustrate, and, by the same token, with inhabitants, the income layers of which, left in the image, mimic almost precisely the income layers profile of the city as a whole, right in the image. This is a strong case concerning how local properties impinge upon social stratification. This is not unique to Vila Planalto. Certainly examples happen in many neighborhoods in many cities in the world, among them Copacabana in Rio, perhaps the borough with the greatest urbanity on earth, if by such we understand the diversity of activities and social classes found here, which, again, mimics the city as a whole. A democratic borough is one which realizes in its microcosmos the profile of the entire city, the diminishing of the middle-low stratum in favor of the poor is remarkable in Copacabana. Finally, we reach the third term of the title, the beautiful, concerning aesthetics. This illustrates the performance of a place, which may be contradictory among dimensions of performance. It does not matter how fanatic an urbanite you may be, I am, and condemn the formality of this place, I do. However, the Esplanade of Ministries in Brasilia will move you, for a thing of beauty is a joy forever. Thank you.